Let me get started and show you how to make some Quilt-as-you-go hexagons. So first of all, we're going to need the fabric that goes on the top, so that goes on the inside here, this cream fabric. And we're going to take that and put it onto our rotating mat. And if you're cutting more than one of them, you can cut up in layers of 2, 4, 6, depending on how sharp your rotary cutter is. But for this exercise, I'm just going to cut one. So I'm going to take the small hexagon. So this is the smaller one of the two. So we've got a 3-inch and a 4-inch, and you can see very clearly that this one is quite a lot smaller than that one. So this is the one that we cut the top things out of. And then this fabric on the back, we use this template to cut that because that's going to wrap in around over the top. So I'm going to start with the smaller of the two. We're just going to put it onto our fabric. I'm going to rotary cut. And if you have one of these boards, make it work for you. They're designed so that you don't have to dance around the table, cut up under your armpit, turn the board as you go, and it makes it a lot easier. So here we have one of our hexagons, so that's the top. Then we're going to take our Quilt-as, which is it's a very firm, it's a wadding, but it's a very stiff wadding, and we're going to cut one of those in the same size template, so the 3-inch. Just pop it on there, and again, just cut around. Make your board work for you. So there we have the piece that sandwiches in between the two layers of fabric. And then we're going to take the backing and we're going to take the 4-inch hexagon. So you can layer that on there. Just see which way is the best way to cut it. And again, we're going to just lay that on your board and cut around the outside of your hexagon. Okay, so now we have the backing of the hexagon. So you can see what I have here. We have the top, we have the wadding, and we have the backing. So I'm just going to take it over here to the iron and give it a press. And I'm going to layer these up. So I'm going to have your backing, the biggest one on the bottom, wrong side facing up. I'm going to place the Quilt-as on the top, and I'm going to center it. So just eyeball that to make sure it's in the center. And then I'm going to put my small hexagon on the top, straight over the top of the Quilt-as. And I'm going to press that because the Quilt-as is fusible on both sides. So give it a good iron so the fabric adheres to that Quilt-as. I'll just turn it over so that I can make sure it sticks to the backing. When you've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to start now folding this little seam over here so that it looks like a binding edge. So all we're going to do is take one side and we're going to fold the raw edge into where the Quilt-as is. We're going to press it. And then we're going to fold it one more time and we will press it again. And you want to work around your hexagon doing that all the way around to all of the 6 sides. So fold it, the seam in, so fold the raw edge in to the Quilt-as, press it, and we're going to press it again. And what you'll find is when you're doing this is when you're pressing it, your little corners, right here, and I'll just show you, give that a shot of steam there. As you come to these little corners here, this corner is going to miter itself. So it's just going to sit perfectly here. You don't have to do anything special with it. It'll just miter up really neatly there. So we're going to continue around on the other 4 sides. So as we get around here, we're going to fold our edge in. Press it, fold it again, and press it, fold it over, fold it and press it and fold it again. So till we get all the way around. Now these hexagons are really quite amazing little things. I can make lots and lots of things out of Quilt-as-you-go hexagons. In fact, I always say I can make anything out of a Quilt-as-you-go hexagon. I can make bags, I can make quilts, I can make little sewing compendiums, all sorts of things. It's just amazing, because as you're making them, you're finishing them off as you go. So you never actually have a UFO. If you only ever make one, you've got a mug rug. So I'm on the last side now. Now for some people they might want to pin that around, but I'm not a real pinner. Now there's a secret. I'm not a real pinner. But if you struggle with that, because I know a lot of people are, you can pin it down, or you could use an applique glue and you could just put a tiny little dot in there. It's going to hold it down there for you. So then we're going to take our needle and thread and we're going to sew it. So we're going to stitch that all the way around the outside edge. When I'm preparing things like this, I would make all of my hexagons and then I pile them up, and then when I'm going to sit down at night, I just sew them up together. You know, I have a pile to sew together. So I do a lot of preparation all at once. I don't just make one thing and then finish that off. I usually get a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I'm going to take a needle. So I have one of the milliner's needles here, and this time I'm going to use the Aurifil thread. So I just have a creamy grey colour here. Now you want to put a knot in the end of your thread, and it may be just one of those quilter's knots where you just wrap it twice around the needle, or it may be the one your mum taught you, that's that lick and twist knot, and that's okay too. Alrighty, so what I do is I fold my edge over and I come up from behind sort of into the seam allowance so I can lose my knot in there. And I'm just going to sew with like a slip stitch or an applique stitch, I guess. So you're just going to go down into your fabric. So your thread's going to come out of the grey fabric, and I'm going to go straight down into the cream fabric. So straight down, I'm going to take about maybe 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more than that in my stitches. And as I come up to this corner, you can see where it's all mitered perfectly there. I'm going to take 2 stitches at the corner just so it secures it and it doesn't come undone there. So I've got 1 stitch there, and then I'll just do a 2nd stitch. Now there's absolutely no need to sew up that miter there. There's no need to sew up along this edge here, okay? It'll just sit there. So we're just going to sew along there. Until we get all the way around to the other side. So as you come around the edge, and I've just about come to the end now, I'm almost finished. I've just got a couple of little stitches to go. I'm going to come up here, and then I'll take an extra little stitch into the edge and lock it off a little bit. So 1 extra stitch there, right on top of where I was. I'll just take my thread through the loop there, and then I just thread my needle through into the seam allowance, bring it out on the edge and snip the thread off there right close to the fabric. Let's get it right down close. Okay, so here we have a finished Quilt-as-you-go hexagon. So these, you can make these any size. You know, this is a 3 and 4 inch, you can do a 4 and 5, 5 and 6, 6 and 7. So you end up with something that's this size. So there's lots of things you can make with these, particularly when you get into the bigger sizes. But this little one is the size that we make all of these little projects with. So if you were doing the mug rug, which is here, we're going to construct that and put it on there. But what I want to show you is how I've folded this hexagon to make this little container to hold my quilting clips. So all I do is I fold my sides together like this, and I do a ladder stitch up that side. So it's every 2nd side I fold up like this, and this one's up like that. So if you can see like that, you sew down those 3 sides and you end up with a little container that you can put your clips in, or you can put some threads in or some buttons or whatever. It's just a handy little thing to when when you're in your sewing room to put little knickknacks in. So that's how we've done that one. For this one's also made with a Quilt-as-you-go hexagon, and this one I keep my tape measure in, as I showed you before. And all we do with this one is we put our sides together and I sew halfway along the side. So I do a bit of a satin stitch right there, halfway along that edge. So we're folding one edge completely in half, and I do a little satin stitch right there, and that just clips those edges together like that. And then I do the next one and I fold them completely in half, and I do a little satin stitch halfway along there. So you can see what I've done there. Fold it in half, do a satin stitch, go to the next one, fold it in half, do a satin stitch, all the way around on 6 sides. And then it looks a little bit like a lotus flower. So you can pop your tape measure in, or you might use that for your quilting clips, whatever it is you want to do. So that's what we've done with those. And then the mug rug, of course, is just flat, and then we're going to put some English paper piecing. I'll do some fussy cutting with some hexagon flower petals. And with the needle case, it's one of these, and of course we've sewn the flower on the front, and then we have another one, and we have another one. So this thing is made up of 3 of these. So you can see it does all sorts of things. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is move on and do some English paper piecing and show you a little bit of the fussy cutting method.